Yeah, I'll listen to prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us all here today. Please be with us as we go through the things that are going on in our school. Please be with all these young kids, Lord, for the achievements they've gotten for us this year, Lord, and the things that they're going on to do in the future. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
The action to seat Bill Wrights as board member on seat number 1.
I'll make a motion. I'll second.
All those in favor? Motion passes. C, action to reorganize the board offices. I will make a motion to make Mike Copeland president.
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Motion passes. I'll make a motion to make Dana the vice president.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion passes.
Secretary.
Yeah.
And then make a motion Bill Wrights be secretary.
Clerk.
Clerk.
Oh, clerk, I'll
Sorry,
second that.
clerk.
All those in favor? Motion passes.
All right, well, I guess it comes over to me now. So I don't believe we have any public participation. I believe he left. Anybody else? Nobody else signed up? No? All right. Honors and recognitions.
Well, we have quite a few. We've had a really good month since the last time we saw you. Mr. Connell, do you want to get to work?
Yeah, so I got a long list here. So we'll start with choir. They got superior rating at state choir this week. So if Ms. Magnus wants to say a few words.
Sure. To go to state, we have to get superiors at districts, and we did. And so then we went last Thursday. We got straight ones from the judges, superior ratings from the judges. The comments were, "Wow, your Latin is so good," and things like that. And so, which was a big deal. And so I picked a college level piece for them, which was because I'm a crazy person, and it stressed me out, and they knocked it out of the park.
Are there new choir members here?
No, they're all in drama or FFA, so they're multitasking. So I wanted them to be here, but they couldn't. But this is their plaque, so we'll add that to the high school thing. So thank you. Thank you.
Then next we have girls basketball here as academic state champs, and then also some individual awards. If Coach, you'd like to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, really the one thing that we just wanted to say is how proud we are of our girls. We always talk about student athletes and academics come first, and our girls worked really hard in the classroom. This year we had a couple of all-conference players. Second team all-conference was Abby Myers. First team all-conference was Reese Roof and Reagan Snyder. Reagan also got conference offensive player of the year this year. If anybody has seen these girls play, they know how tough our conference can be. And then Reagan also got a couple of extra awards the last couple of weeks. She was named to the OGBCA 3A, 4A Middle West All-State team. And then last week, she was also named to the OGBCA Academic All-State team. So pretty impressive year for her, and a really great year for our girls.
You guys want to say anything? Nothing? No? Okay.
The next, so we took 39 of our students to SWASU for swim meet, which is a scholastic competition. There's competitions in things from accounting and business to science to foreign language. In Kingfisher for our class, we placed first overall, and we had first place finishes in accounting, personal financial literacy, general business, spreadsheets, Microsoft Office, native Spanish, general technology 1 and 2, and a whole bunch of second and third place finishes. And if Mr. Kaya or Ms. Nault want to add to something I missed, or give names to who placed what, have at it.
Don't be shy.
I brought papers for you. We took all 39 kids that went placed in the top 10 of every test they took. So I made a copy for you. so you could have it, but if you went to the swim meet, come forward. There's not very many here, but Mrs. Nault, Mr. Kaya, and come on up, Mr. Nault and Mrs. Kaya. Mr. Kaya and Mrs. Nault, sorry I said that backwards.
Oh my, smart.
Mrs. Nault's group, their group won business division, and same with Mr. Kaya's group, they won business division. So since we won 3 business divisions, that means we won sweepstakes. So we got a big old plaque for the first time. So. Those that placed in the top 5 now get to go on to the state scholastic meet at OSU, which is May 2nd, on the day that we do not have school. And so 24 of our 39 are eligible to attend that, and I'm slowly getting back names, but we have several that would like to go to that. We always have fun. Mrs. Ballster and I, we're not responsible for them taking the test. We're just, the teachers nominate them, but we have fun taking them.
Yeah, it's always fun getting to know the kids, and we always have some pretty funny stories.
Yeah, I just drive the bus, and we get them there and get to know them, and they do a great job for us. So they represent Kingfisher very well. So.
So I have a few more that I don't think are here. If you are, just stand up and say something, but we'll speak to these. Band was asked and got to play the national anthem with the help of a Cartridge Band for the start of the OKC Comets game, which is, I didn't know this still going. They're no longer the Dodgers, they rebranded to the Comets. So that was cool. And one of our participants and one of our band members, Colton Livingston, we got word this week he was selected to be a member of the OSU marching band, so pretty big deal there for him. And then this week we have the play Canterbury Tales, which will start Thursday and go through the weekend. We had one of our students, Valentina Insignieres, who was selected as Miss Kingfisher County. And then we have 6 seniors who received their FFA state degrees. And then we had 2 students, Lily Lunsford and Savannah Rearman, who's here for other reasons. But Savannah and Lily, they participated in a poem contest with over 300 people that submitted poems in 6 different categories. And those 2 students actually won their category for their poems. So lots going on at the high school.
I had one other thing.
You sure can.
This is especially for Miss Savannah, but we just got word that Savannah, we've got 236s, is that right? She just left. Well, she had 236s on the ACT.
Wow.
1 in reading, 1 in English, and then Ray Osterholt had a 36 in math.
Anybody else?
We still have some.
You are welcome to leave if you don't want to stay.
Still more.
I know you guys
Right
are
there.
Yeah, we still have junior high and upper elementary.
Oh, sorry.
This has been a successful week.
Sorry.
And I took, because again, I'm a crazy person, I took 63 kids to Sealing, and let me say, we have wonderful parents who went with us, and our bus was late, so we were late, and so it was a little crazy for me, and the parents, I just have to say, stepped in and helped me take care of things when everything was behind, because our solo ensemble room was an hour and a half behind, which put us late to go into the choir competition. And they stepped in and they helped me with the kids, and so I want to first say I'm really appreciative of our parents. Okay, come on, Raven. They're not all here. I have 93 kids in choir this year, 5th grade through, here you want to hold this one? 5th grade through 12th grade. And so 5th grade earned a superior as a choir, and then I had for Q, and 6th grade earned a choir. Hannah's holding that one, even though she's a 7th grader, and because I don't have a 6th grader. So for Q, We had 15 superiors and solos, 5 excellents. Draven is one who earned an excellence. And this was her first time doing a solo. And she sang the song, Why Does the Willow Weep, which was very good. And so she earned an excellent. And then we had ensembles. We had 6 superiors and ensembles, so that's anyone from 2 to 10 kids in an ensemble, so they have to balance with each other and another part. And so we earned a bunch of there, and then 1 excellence. And then for junior high, I wasn't worried about them because they got a superior at district, but we took our mixed choir, and Earl is holding the plaque for mix, and they got a superior rating and good comments from the judges, and Earl got an excellent. This is the first time he sang a solo, and he earned an excellence at that competition. And then Ray is holding the one for the treble choir. We got a superior rating from the judges. Again, very strong comments. And she didn't sing a solo, but she was in an ensemble, and they earned superior. We had 6 superiors for solos and 4 excellence for solos for the junior high. And the ensembles earned 4 superiors, no excellence. And Hannah sang a song, also a solo, and she got a superior in her solo. And if you haven't heard these kids sing, I'm just saying, stop by my room, and I'll make them stand up and sing. And Hannah's has been an all-stater for 4 years, 3, 4. Oh, anyway, she's really good. So anyway, but we did really, really well. We've got a bunch of medals in my room that I'm going to give out at the awards assemblies. And so I'm just very proud of them. They stepped up. It's very hard to sing in front of a judge looking at you with your music and sing your solo correctly. So I'm very, very proud of them. It takes a lot of courage. So anyway, thank you.
Mr. Copeland, before they go, would you wait just a minute, Ms. Marion?
Yes.
Would you ladies stand up over there, Coach Taylor and Coach Myers? I saw Ms. Cusick leave, but you know, whenever you look at this, Mr. Kai, Mrs. Knoll, Ms. Magnus, and Coach and Mrs. Taylor and Mrs. Mitchell, all this takes a lot of organization and a lot of extra time, and we are so blessed to have teachers like this. We do not realize how blessed we are, and we just need to tell them thank you every chance we get for the hard work that they do.
Any other teachers or administrators have anything else they want to say before we go on? Okay. All right. Next, item F, discussion and possible action on the following: the general fund encumbrances, co-op fund encumbrances, building fund encumbrances, child nutrition fund encumbrances, sinking fund encumbrances, change orders listed in the general co-op, building, and child nutrition funds, the treasurer's report, the activities fund custodian report, declaration of surplus and authorization to sell surplus items and return the proceeds to the appropriate activities fund or general fund treasury, discussion and possible action on minutes from the March 3rd, 2025 regular board meeting, establishment of a PTO account for the junior high and high school, Little Stinger's application for certification of child care faculty, facility, fundraisers request, Heritage Student Bake Sale, and the Clearwater Enterprises contract. Okay.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. On our encumbrances for the month, we had 80,188 net on general fund. Co-op was 16,815, and the building fund was 14,474, and then child nutrition was 115. Some points of interest on the encumbrance for board approval. As we go down through here, if you look at, we kind of ran into a problem with our vacuum cleaners. We had to replace all the vacuum cleaners. They just wore out.
Did they leave them plugged in, or?
No, they just use them too much, I think. I'm not sure. We had a rock delivery for Little Stinger site because we had a huge hole over by the
by the sidewalk, and you couldn't hardly drive through it. And we got some of that delivered. As you go on down, you'll notice we had some of the normal stuff. Installation for the intercom system, repair for ransomware from Index. That's for the junior high. We did that for every building, but the junior high is the last one we're having a problem getting the bells and all that up with. And we think that it is a problem between the Cisco server and the Index server. So we're working on that. The $41,750 technology encumbrance, all but $10,000 of that is covered by insurance. $10,000 is our deductible, but we had to go ahead, since that's a reimbursement, we had to go ahead and encumber that amount of money. We ran out of some Oklahoma flags. We had to get some new ones for that. Let's see. On 1695, we have lodging for coaches clinic, which is $2,800. That's professional development. We're trying to save all that money we can out of the AD account. Normally we would, but our gates have been down a little bit this year, and they've got to go be able to get their heat stress and their concussion protocol updates and things like that. The extermination supplies for the administration office. Unfortunately, we have not exterminated all the skunks, but it doesn't smell as bad. But we had spider problems, and Pam and Dawn and Heather told me they weren't going to work over there unless we took care of that, so we took care of that. We had some of the wind that we had. I can't imagine 70-mile-an-hour wind knocking down football field fence, but it did, so we had to fix that. Then we had change orders on payroll encumbrances on page 4. When we come to page 5, that would be the notice of loan payment due on, we've got to pay the payment on the judgment. That'll be $1,548,676.43 that will be taken out of the sinking fund. That money should all be present in the sinking fund by that time. We've got enough money to cover that, but we're running 30 days behind on our collections. So that should be fine. We know how much money's in there, but we have to approve that. Technically, you don't necessarily have to, but I think whenever you're writing a $1.5 million check, it's a good idea that you guys know what's going on. I don't want to have to explain that later. On page 6, that's just pretty normal stuff on monthly bills. We did get some fertilizer and MSMA for the football practice field and the softball fields and the baseball field, because if we don't put that MSMA down, we're going to get stickers, and nobody wants to practice football with the stickers. That was pretty run-of-the-mill stuff, pretty much, for page 7. And page 8, we have change orders on these, so most of those come back out. And I know you probably wonder why we always have payroll encumbrance changes. The reason is people can go in and change their benefits packages, and whenever they do that, we have to adjust their payment stuff. So that gets you over through 10. We're not voting any extra money on that. That's just normal business stuff. Whenever we get over to the Fund 12, that page 12, that's the co-op fund, which we will begin the process of closing in June, after June 15. And then moving to 14, we have Index of Oklahoma for the Gilmore Intercom ad for phase 2 and phase 1 finish. That is the encumbrance to cover getting that fire alarm and those bells and all that up in the part of the building that's not done. And Index has the stuff. They wanted to get it. They need to get it done, and part of that's also going to be on the fire alarm system. On Once again, we're back to district heat and air repairs. Fortunately, these were $549. And moving on to the child nutrition, cleaning the hoods, repairing the oven at the queue, pretty standard stuff. And then we have the tear management expenses. If we get over to our actual page 18 where we get into the treasurer's report, you're going to note that we have balance as of 3/31 was $5,711,026.39 in the total. Composite cash on hand was $6,229,000. We collected $302,166.88 in ad valorem during the month of March, which is about where it ought to be. I mean, we're getting pretty close to closing that up, where we've almost we're almost completely collected. Whenever you look over on page 19, that goes through the full year's expenditures, which don't necessarily count into this because that's a calendar, that's 2 fiscal years. Then you go to page 20, and as you look down, our general fund is sitting at $2,352,000 right now. The co-op fund, we'll get that caught up. We've got to claim some money. That's minus $116. Building funds at $687, which we'll collect again this month, like the general fund and ad valorem. Child nutrition is really pretty healthy for this time of year. Sinking fund, like I said, $2,673,556.75, which is a good thing with $1.5 million coming out of it. We have nothing left on our casualty flood insurance fund. So as we get over to page 22, this is where we have the total collected. And if you look up on the, I put the big spreadsheet out there for you, this one. If you look on that, right now, right up here in the upper right-hand corner, we're sitting at $149,057 left to collect that we had anticipated collections on ad valorem. That's from years 2022 up through 2025 because of tax protests. And that's part of why we're collecting so much faster on that, is because we've had several tax protests settled this year. As you look down, I want to point one thing out to you in particular on gross production. We've over collected from what our estimate was at $357,520.59. We're collecting an average right now. When I came in, we were about 192 and a half, somewhere in there on gross production collections. Now we're up somewhere up a little bit north of $300,000 a month, which is not $800,000 a month, but $300,000 a month is mind-blowing to most people. I want to point something else out to us too. We are in a unique situation. We are in an anomaly right now. We are one of 15 schools that are collecting gross production at the rate we are. The state is $9,550,000 under collected at this point in the year to schools. There's only 4 counties that are collecting at a positive rate, and that would be Kingfisher, Blaine, Grady, Canadian, and we believe Pontotoc. I've looked at some of Pontotoc County stuff. They're getting close, and Love County's getting close to collecting out. That's it. Everybody else is negative. The schools that are traditionally large gross production are collecting considerably under what they had budgeted for the year. And one of the things that I'm going to recommend to James when we do the temporary appropriation is that we probably need to keep that probably pretty close to where we're at right now, so we don't get any false hopes. Right. Whenever you look at the revenue on the next page, I want to point out right up here in the blue, our local, which is basically ad valorem, we're at $5,082,000 last year. The blue for this year is $3,013,000. That's $1.9 million less than what it was last year. And we just need to keep that in mind. The thing that is really kind of crazy is that we are at $786,000 collected this year in county 4 mil and county 4 mil taxes like the mortgage tax. However, last year we were $809,000, but it was only 4% last year, or 6% this year. And then the state revenues are $23,000. That would be like gross production, motor vehicle, those kind of taxes. And motor vehicle and school land would probably take a big jump here in the next 2 months because they've got to pay those out. And I don't know what they do with the money until they do it, other than get their interest. State allocated revenues, we're set at 20% with $2,934,000. Last year we were $2,566,000. And a lot of that is because our state aid's high. We're going to wind up collecting somewhere around $200,000 from state aid. And then the federal funds, unfortunately, we're $200,000 less on those because of the ESSER exit. And then once again, we've got to look at our pie chart and see how much bigger a piece of pie the carryover was last year relative to this year in the general fund. But that's just part of life. One of the things that we're seeing right now too is is in our expenses. Right now we're showing a decrease in salary at the same time of $70,167.82 to this point of the year, $38,159 in burdens. There's a decrease of $3,498,000 in the services and $411,000 less in supplies. Dues and fees are up $99,000, but that's because dues and fees go under prescription services. Now, if you turn to the next page, the rain this weekend, I didn't have much to do. So I decided to go ahead and take a month-to-month look at what we're doing. This year, on this graph is purple, okay? So what we did is I took and broke all the months down into our normal salaries, our totals, our burdens, so forth and so on. As you look at it though, what I really want you to see is, if you look at the total expenditures for the full year, look at the purple line right there, and then all of a sudden we start dropping. And our total expenditures dropped rather dramatically from left to right, which had to happen. But it was really one of those things that until you actually see it graphed out, it doesn't make sense. Because if you look, we jumped up. We stayed pretty steady all the way across on the salaries, which is the second line graph. And we jumped up in January like we said we would. And now we're down below the 2023 and 2024 fiscal years in salaries for the year. Now, if you look down at supplies and services in particular, look at this roller coaster that we've gone on from services. We were, at one time, we were at $900,000 in services in July. Right now, our services have dropped where we're almost the third lowest we've been in the last 5-year period that we've looked at. And that gives us a pretty good idea that we're not spending a lot of money extremely on outside services. We're taking care of as much stuff as we can internally. But I want you to look at the supplies as well. The teachers and the administrators have done, and the support staff have done a tremendous job, if you look at that, at the supplies, because they haven't asked for anything. And we have dropped those supply numbers out the bottom. And that is, but we had a lot of that stuff on hand. We're gonna see a jump this month because we'll pay that $41,000. But if we hadn't had to replace the air conditioners over here, the HVAC units over Heritage over the last 2 months, our total would be down well below what it is right now. Those artificially drove up March because we had to pay those bills because those guys did the work they needed to be paid. But my point is this: we are looking at a situation where we have got the budget back to some kind of alignment with what it ought to be. And I got to give board compliments because it's not easy to do that. And we really haven't had to say a whole lot of no's because people haven't asked. But I really appreciate the effort that they're putting into this. Now, as we look into next year, because it's time to be thinking that way, we did this off today's data, so that's why you didn't get this earlier. But if you look, right now the district ADM is down 8.83 ADM from the first quarter statistical report. We're down 8.83 students have a right to go to school here. This is causing us to lose 11.28 weights. And if you want to, I got fat fingers, I'm sorry. If you want to look at this right here, this is our ADM from 2022's final up through the current time. And what I'm really comparing this to right here on the 2 yellow ones, that's what I'm subtracting to see where we're actually going to wind up for the coming year. The yellow down here is on the next set of tables is going to be what we're actually looking at for our WADM or weighted ADM. And right now it's looking like we're going to be somewhere around 15 to 20 kids. That's going to be about 140 net total in state aid. However, as with anything in state aid, you have to remember it's what happens with everybody else. And right now, from the other schools that I'm talking to, and from the number searches that I'm doing, we're seeing that the total ADM in the state is declining. We were 1,500 down this year. I'm looking for us to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,500 to 3,000. That's what the trend lines are showing, and that's year to year. If you go back to 2019 or 2020, we're down almost 5,500 kids statewide. That is a huge number. One thing I do want to point out before we forget about it, I do want you to look on the salaries on this graph right here. You'll notice this grouping of numbers right here, where the orange is and then where the purple is, the purple and green. That is the difference between the last big pay raises. Whenever they did the last big pay raise in 2023, that's why we have such a demarcation between 2023 and 2024 and 2025, because we're on the new pay scales. Well, they did, but they just didn't get it to us as well as they could have. I will remind you though, we received $500,000 in July that we won't receive this year unless something happens in the legislature. And the way they're panicking up there right now, I don't know that that's going to, any of that's going to, I don't know if anybody's going to give you more money. 2026 preparations, we're projecting that we will increase salaries and burdens by $120,000 for next year as we roll up the salaries for next year. We have several openings that we've
advertised with all but one of these positions placed in the salary scales that were projected up. And the reason they were is because those people worked here and were on the salaries. We're on the school personnel report, so we were able to use that, and that's within the numbers that we have. We have one special ed position that was not filled last fall, and that one was not in there because it became empty. But we have an English position at the high school currently open. We have a history position that we will need to consider filling. And we did list coaching with all the positions. That's why it looked like we had 9 or 10 positions. Mr. Swisher called me and asked me, what in the world? And I said, well, you know, it just kind of happens that way. I mean, whenever you put things up on Facebook, it's amazing how quickly they do it. But we will be doing our temporary appropriations in the next few weeks. I talked to James last week about that. One thing we will be doing will be a Form C7 to increase our appropriations at the May board meeting by including grant money and, I forgot the words, but federal funds are not in our appropriations yet. We're still at $14,230,000, and then we will also include the money that we've over-collected, which we should know by the time we get to May. We'll be working with the grant group to get the financial portion of the grant set up, and we'll bring that to you next month. We didn't bring it to you this month because we don't have all the stuff set up for that. And the grant does have a position for an instructional coach, and we're currently gathering prices on consumables for math and language arts that were ordered last year, this year. I said last year because I'm looking at 2026. And we're really trying to make sure that we're in. Ms. Jones has already visited with people on getting the consumables for the pre-K through 8th grade, and we're meeting about the pre-K through the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th tomorrow at 9 a.m. So if anybody wants to come by for a truly enjoyable session on curriculum. Are there any questions about finance stuff before we move on?
I'll make a motion.
Well, we still got a
whole bunch
couple
more
of.
to go.
Oh,
I made a long consent agenda.
14 line items.
Yeah, it is the season, guys. It is the season. On the declaration of surplus items, we have a whole bunch of materials that Coach Waltman and Anissa came to talk to me about, and they're going to set those up like a garage sale, and those will go right back up into the fund that bought them, which they were bought with their activity fund, but it's not a fundraiser, it's just trying to get rid of junk. I got a feeling we're probably going to see that with all the other activities pretty soon because we're filling out. We got a lot of stuff. And then you've got your board meeting minutes over on behind the surplus items. And then we have a sub-account. We have school activity sub-account for the junior high. We want to make a junior high PTO and a high school PTO. This was at the request of parents, and Mr. Ferris was very excited to sign that. And then we've got the contract for review for Little Stingers, which would be, which will allow us to keep our daycare going. And then Heritage Student Bake Sale. This is to teach kids how to count money. It's not going to be a big money fundraiser. They've got a lot of money in their activity fund. And then finally, we've got Clearwater Enterprises. This is who we buy our natural gas through, and we pay them pretty well to do that. It keeps our natural gas prices not nearly as
not nearly as volatile as what we would normally see. That's it.
Any more discussion? Any more questions? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve item F, 1 through 14.
I'll second.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. All right, G, discussion and possible action to approve a contract with Britton, Kirkendall, and Miller for the 2024-25 school year audit.
This is the regular audit that we have to do by law. We need to get that in as quickly as we possibly can. They were excited to have us back this year. We are going to have to start thinking about when we're going to possibly move to a different auditing firm, because we are getting a few deductions on points for using the same one over and over. They like to make sure that we're not doing things that they don't want us to get in the rut, especially after some of the things that, awful things that have happened down in southeast Oklahoma. Not that that's a blight on them, it's just it is.
Any discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we approve item G.
I'll second it.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. H, discussion and possible action to approve the transfer capacity by site.
And this has to go up on the state website, or we have to put it into the state. And as you can tell, as you look at it, you can tell we don't have much room in kindergarten, 3rd grade, 5th grade, 8th grade, but we've got, we could take some more students, but that's showing that we do have extra capacity that is available for transfer students.
Yeah, do it every quarter now.
We have to do it every quarter.
Yes. Yeah, they don't want us keeping anybody out.
So you just want a motion to approve that?
Yeah, I'll
Yes.
entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we approve the transfer capacity.
Second.
Brad seconds. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Discussion possible action to approve board policy DC and board policy EMDB.
And these are, well, the first one is employment practices on how we make recommendations to the board on employees. It follows our negotiated agreement, and it does go in and revamp. It doesn't revamp, but it restates that we're going, how we would do it. The principal should be consulted on employment and retainment of teacher, and the superintendent shall recommend candidates for administrative support and certified positions. If you don't agree with our recommendations, then we go back and recommend again. That's basically what it's saying. And what it does is it allows the board to maintain its integrity as the arbiter of who we're going to spend money on. And the flags is a continuation of our policy that we've had for a long time. I'd like to thank Dr. Johnson, because he keeps us up when we have to go to half-mast and stuff like that on flags, and it's really helpful.
Any discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve item I.
I'll second.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Superintendent's report.
For Gilmore, we just had fine arts last week. On Tuesday, we had poetry, so we had 10 first graders participate in the poetry here at the First Baptist Church. They represented very well. And then on Wednesday, we had the mixed choruses at Hennessy, and at the direction of Mrs. Greco, which she does a fantastic job getting the students ready to perform there. So they did a great job. And so overall, Kingfisher Public Schools really represented well for all of the fine arts activities last week. We also are in the middle of spring benchmark testing to finish out the year. just to see where our students are at. And then this Friday, we are having a Captain Supertooth visitor. It's like a superhero for dental hygiene. They come in and they do a little presentation for each grade level. And we've done this before, and our students love it. So we're excited to have them. Next week, we will be having our Easter egg hunts for in preparation for Easter, and parents will be coming to be able to participate with their students in that. This year, we've used a new way to have students or parents register for different activities that we've had with School Safe ID, and it has been really great. They pre-register, and then our Safe ID program generates badges for them, and so we have them check in that way. So that way it's not just, oh, everyone come in, come one, come all. And so it's been very organized, and we really like that. And safe. So, and then we will be attending the 2nd grade music program coming up, and the 4th grade music program coming up. And then we have lots of activities, Super Kids Day, picnics, classroom awards that will be coming up at the end of April, beginning of May. So, and all of those details about those activities will be coming out soon. That's what's going on at Gilmore.
Heritage. Pretty much the same as far as fine arts go. We had students that, 10 kiddos that represented for poetry. I also had kiddos that played the piano. They did a great job. And then we also went in chorus. Again, Mrs. Greco, we got scores, and I don't want to steal her thunder, so I'm not going to say what those scores were, but I can just tell you they were good. Our 3rd graders are preparing for testing, so this is a big deal. This is the first year that kids actually do state testing, so we're really revving up there, so we're preparing for that. 2nd grade is preparing for their music program, which is April 25th. And then 2nd grade also, they're going to have an egg hunt that's going to be out in the field between the Q and Heritage, so that's going to be a big deal. Again, like she said, we have lots of activities going. We try to keep our calendar updated so you guys can check those out. All of our activities we put on Parent Square, so busy, busy, busy. That's what we're doing.
Q.
For the Q, I had one recognition and I completely forgot about it. But the Department of Transportation does a waste management poster contest that we do through our art classes, and we had 6 students from 5th and 6th grade that won at the county level, and then those 6 students went on to the state, and we actually had a 6th grader, Riley Inskeep, that won 3rd place overall in the state. And so she gets to go to the Department of Transportation. They're having a little awards ceremony for them, and her poster will be in the Department of Transportation calendar for the following year. And so that's pretty cool that she got that. She got a certificate, so her family will get to go along with Mrs. Finley to that presentation. We also participated in the Fine Arts Festival. We had 29 students doing a poetry contest. And then only our 4th graders went to the chorus because our 5th and 6th graders were preparing for their contest at Sealing. But they did really well. They sang 2 of the songs that they have been practicing for their 4th grade musical that's coming up the 1st of May. And then kind of like what Mrs. Magnus said, they did great at Sealing for our vocal music with 41 ensembles and solos that received superior, and then the 10 that received excellent. And then our 5th and 6th grade band went on Saturday to Sealing. They also received superior ratings as well. We're kind of taking a breather on activities right now and getting ready for testing. We will start April 22nd is our first test date, and so we're getting ready for that and preparing our students. So lots going on, like I said, and then it's just hit the ground running from there with all the end of the year activities.
Good. You got it.
Okay, Toby kind of mentioned this as well about the junior high and high school band joining Okarche to play the national anthem at the Oklahoma City Comets baseball game. This month is National Child Abuse Prevention Month, so we will be wearing blue on April 10th to help raise awareness for child abuse prevention. This past month, our 7th graders, they have been reading the novel The Outsiders, which was filmed in Tulsa. So they took a field trip and got to see where it was filmed, got to see the museum and learn a little more about it. So they had a good time doing that. And our 8th grade this past month went to the Oklahoma City National Memorial and Museum so that they could understand the impact of the bombing had on not only our history, but the families of Oklahoma. So that was a nice opportunity for them. We are also gearing for state testing, which is coming up in this month, getting our students prepared and ready.
High school.
Yeah, outside of all the recognitions we did earlier, we had prom this past weekend. All went well there, looked awesome. Ms. Hardison, Ms. Booth did a lot of work to make that go well. Taylor Mecklenburg and Jose Santoya were king and queen. And then giving another plug, coming this weekend for the play, Canterbury Tales. It'll start Thursday, 7 p.m. all the times. I think there's like 4 different showings, but those times are put on our Facebook page. It can be found there. So, and then I also wanted to speak, brought a handout for something for you guys to think about. And in my 2 years, or just under 2 years here, we at the high school alone have lost 50 students to online school or to dropouts. And there's been some discussion about trying to set up our own online school to service those kids. The weighted ADM comes out to $4,124 per kid. So you multiply that times 50, just in dollars and cents, that's what walks out our door when kids say they want to go to Epic or K-12 or something like that. But really for us too, it was trying to tackle dropouts and school and students that we aren't able to service or meet whatever needs that they feel like we can't meet. And so kind of started as a fact-finding journey to set up our own. And had a few different people in that pushed me towards this program. And so I talked with her just to kind of get the ins and outs of how everything was set up, and kind of shifted gears partway through that from trying to set up our own to they already have the infrastructure in place to do it. And so where this differs, it's an online co-op that we would co-op with. They would be Kingfisher students, they'd get a Kingfisher transcript. But rather than going to Epic or K-12 or something like that, they would stay as Kingfisher students, and then we would just purchase their seat in one of their programs. Also, where this differs from Epic or a program like that is those programs have teachers that have a caseload for all subjects. A teacher just has kids and manages all their courses. This is set up where a certified science teacher is overlooking all the science classes. A certified math teacher is overlooking all the math classes. And so that's the case for all of their core subjects. They have 4 programs that we would utilize in some capacity. So they have a full-time program for students that come to us and say, hey, I want to go full-time online, Epic or something like that, then we would present this program to them. They have a blended program, so this is for kids that would want to do a program like ag or sports or the career tech. They would go into the blended program where they would take some of their courses online, maybe allow them to work or something like that. There's a variety of reasons why kids now do online school, but and then another one that we would utilize and I think would benefit a lot of our kids is right now we do our credit recovery in-house using a program called Edgenuity. They do that as well, but like Epic, we have one teacher who's doing a variety of classes, whereas this will replace our credit recovery, and in that same program they also offer AP classes, or just classes that Kingfisher Public Schools doesn't offer, that if a student wanted to take, they could come and take that. And once again, it would be, they would answer to a certified teacher in that subject, whatever that subject is. They have a special ed program. Special ed teachers would come to all IEP meetings and would meet with our special ed staff as well to make sure that those students, as they're being serviced by Thrive, would be having their accommodations met, and then also have someone that knows special ed, that when those things need to be redone is coming to those IEP meetings with us and discussing that. And then the last program that they kind of have is they call it their Flex program, but it's essentially a online alt school. So some of the times one of the things we run into with our alt school is with chronic absenteeism and truancy and things like that. Kids that go to the alt school and have absentee issues, they just kind of boot them from the program, send them back to high school, or send them to online, and they're back to ground zero. And so this is essentially offers that same creative thinking for their credit recovery and stuff like that, but doesn't have that attendance requirement that our alt school would require. A couple years ago, I guess Epic, their graduation rate was right about 40%, whereas this program last year, they graduated 100% of their seniors. And so as we got to talking to them, to me it kind of sounded like a no-brainer and something. All of my counselors were there, Lisa Meyer was there, Chris was there, and his counselor over here, Melissa Slazicki, and all of them felt like it was something that our students would benefit from. They have programs K through 12, and we would control the attendance, who gets to go, and they're Kingfisher students, so we tell them what courses they need to take and things like that to meet our graduation requirements, and then they put them in those classes and service them. And so they're still Kingfisher students, and we're not losing them to online. That just doesn't have very high success rate. So
It's like Epic, but with better supports. I called a buddy of mine who is the principal at Cordell, and he didn't have anything negative to say about it. Just raved about what a great program it was, that they are quick to communicate with not only them, but parents as well. So he talked it up and said it. There has absolutely been no negatives with this program. I
was on a phone call on a Zoom with Winona schools over in Osage County last week, and they have this, and their enrollment is just crazy. They're up next to Barnsdall. They got some tornado damage, and they're trying to figure out what they're going to do, and they're using Thrive. And their high school has actually grown. They've got 85 kids total school. They gained 12 kids out of Thrive. They'd be down at 72 kids if they didn't have Thrive going. 72 or 73. And the kids stay hooked up. I mean, if you have it on campus, you've got to have somebody in there with them. But it's worth a look.
And we would, counselors, you guys can hit something if I missed. Our goal is if we had this in place, we would try to reach out to those students that we've lost, and try to say, we didn't have this set up when you left, and try to see if it would be a good fit for them, and hopefully some of them would jump on and we could get them on board. So.
Well, the problem is we have kids leave us that want Epic, and they end up going to Epic, and after 2 or 3 months, they don't like it, and whatever, they want to come back. Then they end up being a dropout after that. So, like Mr. Ferris said, this is Epic, but with more support.
So I have a couple of questions. So you said of the 50 students, and you're talking about students have left, so of the 50, or let's just say 50, right? What are the main reasons that they choose to go to Epic? And then how many do you think would choose this? Like, how many do you think we would get back of those 50?
There's a wide variety of reasons why we lose kids to Epic. I mean, I think kids are having to do life at earlier ages than ever before. We have kids that are working, kids that are helping raise younger siblings. In fact, when they came and did the presentation, they talked about a young man that was in their program that roofed houses. So he's roofing houses in Oklahoma and Texas, and really the only way that he could have the support that he needed and the flexibility that he needed to work and provide for the things he needed to provide for, this was kind of it.
So some of the flexibility about doing it in the evenings.
Yeah, and they had
Just flat dropouts, but
Yeah.
not all of them went to
Right.
Epic, but-
And so what happens, you know, like with Epic and stuff like that is you're on your own. Whereas this, you know, they have check-ins that they have to do with those teachers each week. They're super communicative, so they're calling them all the time and are staying on them to make sure that they're getting their stuff done. But yeah, I mean, we have kids that leave for all kinds of reasons. And then I would say, you know, kind of talking that out with the counselors, we think we probably get somewhere in the 30-ish back of those 50. And then two, hopefully it's having it in place for, you know, future. And, you know, if kids are succeeding in a normal classroom environment, right, this isn't what we're setting it up for. And that goes back to we control the enrollment of who gets to go. This is more so for kids that have life and are having to do things at a different schedule and in a different format. And so trying to give them better supports to get what they need to get done.
Do we incorporate this into our same teacher staff, or we have people that kind of head this, or they have some?
So they would cover everything except for, you know, for the blended students or the expand programs of kids that are taking a class that we don't offer, or an AP class or things like that. You know, we think that we would probably just give them a place like 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour in the afternoon to do that. So like right now, Connor Brooks, his entire day is credit recovery and doing online classes. So that would allow us to use a rock star like him to teach something else and put him in front of, you know, more students as the actual teacher, and have him just do like 2 hours of this where he's giving them a place to work and helping them in the immediate, but their main contact for help and things like that would be the Thrive staff, because Thrive has teachers. I mean, they have 1,000 kids and they have, you know, like 20-ish teachers, and so that's their first line of contact is those Thrive teachers.
So what's their success rate?
Last year they graduated 100% of their seniors. Before that, this year they said it'd be like high 90s, because they had a couple kids that just weren't going to graduate in time. The year before it was almost 100%. So
what grades? Like when did this
start? This goes K through 12, and so they offer programs all the way down. And same thing for that's special ed, everything.
Essentially takes over for the
So I have two of those questions. One of them is, what would it look like if somebody took this that was homeschooled but didn't have the interactions? Like what would it, so talk about the blended deal, what would that look like where a kid could do some things and also be where they get around other students some, but they get the flexibility?
So,
does that make sense?
yeah, so like core classes and things like that would be online with Thrive. If there was a program, you know, drama, ag, whatever, they would come to campus for those things. They would be required to provide their own transportation because this is a choice. And so a homeschool kid isn't enrolled in Kingfisher Public Schools, so we don't get funding for them. They're not part of our ADM. In this case, they would be, and so then we would turn around and buy their seat for their program, which is much less than what we would get in regards to the funding formula.
But they could be in electives and different.
Yeah, so they could be in drama and ag, go to the career tech, whatever, and then their core classes or things like that would fit there. Another usage for us, and part of this was Ms. Levenwell was just talking with an upperclassman who wants to do ag, wants to do career tech, wants to do band.
No, like I had a parent reached out to me and said, well, she wants to go to career tech and she's going to do her science and her math out there. And I said, well, that's only going to leave her 1 hour in her career program out there because she has to come back here and be in ag and sports and all that. So the expand program would be the summer program where the student has to pay $100 for a class, but the student can get their high school science knocked out over the summer. So then they can come and they can go to their whole 3-hour program and not be pulled for that science during the school year. Does that make sense?
And they're not having to pick and choose
Yeah.
between
Between the two.
And they can
You
do all
can,
things.
again, you can blend everything together so that they get
Yeah.
what they're looking for.
Yep.
The last question I have is timeline that you would recommend, like would this be going for next year or?
Yeah, I mean, we would love to have it in place so we could start even for summer school. Summer school is $100 a course, and then the expand program, which is any class during the school year that we don't teach, we don't offer, AP classes or credit recovery, those are $100 a class, and then a full-time or blended seat is $2,000.
So if we teach the class here, they're expected to take the class here.
Yes.
It's anything that we don't teach, they can take.
Yes. And so, like they offer 6 AP classes, and we only offer 2. And so they have a few AP offerings that we don't offer. And so, as part of our valedictorian requirements and things like that with AP classes, that would give them more options if they wanted to take an AP class that we didn't offer.
No, they can go fully to this.
Yeah,
Cannot
they can go
any class
100%.
In-house.
Yeah. So,
Because they're not going here now, they're going to Epic or any other place.
Right.
There's 50 students.
So it can be
are-
fully virtual or they can blend it.
Can you say that again?
I see this helping to grow our school district as well. There's nothing else right now in the county. I know there's a lot of kids. I get kids daily in my office that want to go online and ask if we have an online program and we don't right now. So I can see this making Kingfisher schools a little bit bigger.
Is it a
social
upfront cost to
options,
us
don't
to
be around people.
implement this? We just sign up and.
yeah, and so then, yeah, you pay for the seats at the end of the year. And there's a variety of reasons they've talked about in places it's been helpful for long-term discipline, where, you suspend a kid, you have a kid who's trying to do a class where that teacher sees 115 kids in a day and 114 of them are coming to class and one's at home, right? That's hard to navigate for the kid and for the teacher. And so this is another place where, it's giving them an option where kids aren't getting behind on credits, you're not creating dropouts when you do things like that. So, yeah, there's tons of, so.
Just one example, I was doing pre-enrollment the last couple of weeks, and we have a sophomore young lady, she's pretty quiet. Her dad passed away several months ago, and so when I passed out the pre-enrollment form, she told me she wouldn't be here next year, and I'm like, why not, honey? And she said that they had moved to Yukon, her and her mom this year was driving her back and forth, and I said, are you going to be going to Yukon schools next year? She goes, no, I'm going to go online for you, because I'm scared to go to Yukon schools. I don't blame her, Yukon schools are big, and she's not the type of kiddo that would be successful there. So I told her to have her mom call me in a couple of months because we might have an option. This would keep her with us. We wouldn't lose her. She wouldn't be going to UConn online. She could still come here and graduate with her class, walk that stage. She's a drama kid, so she wanted to do drama. Her mom was still working over here. So there's lots of different ways this could be used, but that was one that really touched my heart.
They don't include the district.
That's the beauty of it. They don't live in the district, and again, you're capturing some of that state funding,
Yeah.
And the biggest thing is like with that, we just, when we lose those kids, so often they come back and they're behind. And so hopefully this is something that we eliminate that, and we can work on, eliminating dropouts and improve graduation rates, things like that.
So this should be a future.
We'll probably bring this back to you in May, so you have time to consider it. We didn't want to bring it in as an action item because that's a lot to think about.
And I would say, if you have any questions, please feel free to call me or email me. And Keisha's been really quick to respond, and she's answered every time I've called her with questions as we've met with the other principals and counselors and things like that. So if something comes up between now and next board meeting, please feel free to reach out, and I'd be happy to reach out to her and get an answer. So.
You look at some of the schools that are doing this.
Yeah.
Diploma.
I think I was going to ask that, but he said
It's just,
actually those.
it's strictly like that.
And they get the graduate plus the Kingfisher.
Yes.
Yep.
So will our own ed kids do it?
Okay, push them that way.
I can't see.
We get some.
I don't want you to.
The problem is with like having
Yeah.
there's no accountability.
If they're wanting to
So
go to.
they
if
do
they're wanting to
nothing,
go
and
online,
then they come back here, and they're a
That's-
year behind. We gotta get them
That's
caught up.
where they're seeing the environment.
Lots of questions, so I'll be sitting for a while.
Yeah.
I can't, it's like, nothing to me replaces a live teacher.
No, nothing does. I agree with you. But I will say this. I know the teachers that they have, I mean, it's really killing my soul that Newcastle sent this in. The Tuttle in me just can't stand it.
Okay.
But they set up a really, really good program, and they got really good teachers from down in the Tri-City area to do this program. The teacher list on there is pretty impressive.
Well, if you just look at the list of the schools that are doing it around us, and that's the kind of the schools we kind of like to say we're like them. There's a lot of them on that list.
14, I think. Don't we have 14 schools?
Yeah, we're all in the same boat per se. We're trying to keep our kids going to school and not dropping out completely.
Yeah, it's like, well, Hardesty was going to close their high school 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And go K-6. And they got hooked up with Thrive and got away from Edgenuity. And they've still got high school.
Still got a high school.
and it's working for them. Of course, 184 windmills and 3 major pipelines will help you with that too. So.
All right, is there any more discussion on the Thrive before we move on? Andy, you got anything else for?
One thing on ransomware report.
Okay.
We believe that we have got, the bots have pretty much got everything gone through, and we believe that we're back on our main server like I texted you last week. We're closing in on the problem with the junior high bills. Everything else seems to be working. Thank goodness we were able to recover. Heath Price did an incredible job. He actually, it was him that figured out how to crack to get back into Mrs. Knowles' stuff. And that was a big deal because it had all her curriculum locked down. And he got into Heather's, and there was a couple of other jump drives that he got into that we would have lost those. And those guys from the security company were kind of like, how did you do that? And what made you think of that? But he found the code that they had embedded inside.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it was impressive.
Anything else for any of the principals? Nothing else? Okay, let's move on to item K. Proposed executive session, discuss employment and compensation of the following positions for the 25-26 school year. Disclosure of which discussion would violate confidentiality requirements of the state or federal law as authorized by 25 OS 307B1 employment. Do I hear a motion?
I move that we go into executive session.
I'll second it.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. All right, we're going to executive session at 8:13.
First, we've got an accessory regulations.
Okay, so we're on.
All right. The Kingfisher Board of Education met in executive session on 4/7/2025. The board members consisted of Charles Walker, Bill Wrights, Dana Gilbeck, Brad Whitrock, and Mike Copeland. We entered into executive session at 8:13 and returned into session at 9:47. The matters as listed on the board agenda were considered in the executive session, and no other matters were discussed. No board action was taken in executive session. L, discussion and possible action to accept resignations and post position openings.
We have Katie Buckner. With great reluctance, Rita Buckner. Lafani Roberts. Irene Whitehead. And that's the resignations we have at this time, and then I'll have some, and then I would like to ask the board to open the 5th grade science position of Katie Buckner, and an instructional coach for Rise to Read.
I'll make a motion, we approve item L as stated.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passed. M, discussion and possible action on recommendations for employment of the following positions for the remainder of the 25-26 school year. Contracts shall include a step raise on the Kingfisher Board of Education salary scale, all benefits previously agreed to by the board, and access to a cafeteria plan for pre-tax deductions. All contracts are with the Kingfisher Public Schools, and assignments are based on district needs.
I'd like to recommend that you approve addendum A, B, C, D, E, F, and then,
Let's just approve those.
yeah, let's approve those.
I so move.
I second.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passed.
I'd like to recommend that we table addendum G at this time.
Do we have to make a motion for that?
Yes, please.
So move.
I'll second it.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. That is tabled.
I'd like to recommend that we do table addendum 9 at the principal and counselor contracts until I can talk to the counselors and teachers about what we've got, what we had discussed earlier in the contracts during the executive session.
I'll move.
I'll second it.
All those in favor, raise your right hand.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the superintendent contract as listed, but we want to make it a 2-year contract instead of 1.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passed. Any new business?
None that I know of.
Any more announcements?
None that I know of.
Then I'll ask for,
I make a motion, we adjourn.
we are adjourned at 9:51.
We got to say